Moving on, we're going to go to NFL action.
Yeah, start with the Thursday night game. Seattle defeated San Francisco 20-3. This game was similar to a few other games San Francisco has played all year, including the Packer game. Really, their defense kind of kept them in it, but they really were not in it the whole game. If you watch the game, Seattle jumped off to an early lead, and they really from there just kind of ran away with it. Defensively, they held San Francisco, and San Francisco was able to do absolutely nothing. This is such a poor team offensively. They're suffering from just a terrible offensive line. They're really, this is a penniless team, especially offensively, these Niners are.
Yeah, offensively, they've been just terrible. Colin Kaepernick in this game, 13 for 24, 124. That's not going to get it done. That's terrible quarterback stats. But their defense did have a good game. When you look at it, 2 picks off Russell Wilson and only giving up 20 points to him, and taking into account that their offense wasn't moving the ball at all. That's pretty good for a defense.
Russell Wilson has not played. He's played good, but he hasn't played to the level that we've seen him play over the last few years. The Niners did play well, especially defensively. Or not especially, they did play well on the defensive side of the ball. They're creating some turnovers, but they weren't able to capitalize on any of them. And one of those interceptions basically served as a long punt. Russell Wilson threw it deep, and the Niners got the interception, but it was inside their own 10 line, I believe. They're playing better, but offensively there's so many problems, and defense isn't going to make up for it. No matter how good the defense is. I like to look at young players such as Kenneth Aker, cornerback for the San Francisco Niners. He's came up and played well for them. He still struggles in certain areas, but he's playing better football, I think.
Yeah, definitely. We got to move on to the next game. In London, we have the Jaguars pulling off an upset against the Bills. We had Blake Bortles in this game. 13 for 29, below 50% completion percentage. He threw a pretty bad pick that almost gave Buffalo a victory after Buffalo came back from... Matt, do you know what lead Jaguars had in this game?
Yeah, it was 24-3, I believe. Actually, 27-3, I think, at one point. Buffalo came storming back despite the lack of any type of fluid offense. They had nothing going for them. This team had no momentum, so they came roaring back. Some of it was Buffalo, but I think a lot of it was just Jacksonville playing poorly on offense. Really, the defense was the one. They got them that huge lead after that strip sack fumble, the pick six. But Blake Bortles had a good drive at the end of the game to lead them down the field and score that touchdown. But ultimately, I think you got to give Jacksonville's defense all of the credit. Bortles threw a late pick six that cost them the lead, but then was able to overcome that drive down the field and score. Blake Bortles is still struggling. We've seen the similar things that we're seeing this year. We've seen it last year. It's just the little things. A lot of interceptions. So
a lot of interceptions and a lot of
inconsistency.
Inconsistency,
I would say. Yeah,
that'd be a good word for it. So once again, final on that one is 34-31. Moving on, we have Minnesota beating Detroit 28-19. Not a very eventful game other than an outstanding catch. Who made that catch? Was it Stefon Diggs?
Stefon Diggs, yeah, the rookie. He's really come up and played well. He's replacing, I believe, Johnson for the Vikings. So he's done well. The rookie, he's played 3 games. I believe that was his second or third game. But certainly he's playing good football. Really good receiver. And Mike Zimmer already came out and said, you don't lose your starting position to injury, but surely to better play you would. So if Stefon Diggs keeps playing like this, he's gonna be taking someone's job.
Yeah, definitely. He definitely had an outstanding game. What was it? 6 catches, 108 yards, and a touchdown. Not really much else in this game. Lions again struggling on offense. They fired their offensive coordinator after this game. Lions looking to finally find some sort of hope in their season. They've had a very tough season so far. Moving on, we have for our next game New Orleans and Indianapolis. Indianapolis once again struggling. They fall to New Orleans, a team that's been very inconsistent this year. Andrew Luck struggling. He ended up with 333 yards, 3 touchdowns, but once again, turnovers come back to hurt the Colts.
Yeah, they do, and he's thrown a lot of interceptions, and then you wonder, what are they going to do? I don't think they're going to dumb down the offense. I don't think they can. And then you also come to mind, what's going to happen with Chuck Pagano in that situation there? General manager Jim Irsay, there's all types of tension going on. So it's just building and building with more and more losses. The thing that really the only thing that they have going for them is the fact that they play in such a weak division. At this point, you have Tennessee at 1-5. Even they're in it at this point. Who knows? I think it's going to be Indianapolis that wins it, but we'll see. I think Houston's actually in last place.
Yeah. Definitely Houston.
Or
no, Houston's not in last. Houston has two wins somehow.
Yeah, Tennessee has 1.
Yeah,
but if you ask me personally, I'd say Houston is the worst team.
Houston is by far the worst team in that division.
Yeah.
Tennessee's had some tough losses,
including yesterday. Let's get to that game. They lost 10-7. This Atlanta team averaged 30 points coming into this game. Tennessee's defense held them to just 10. But Marcus Mariota didn't play. Zach Mettenberger takes over. He throws a pair of picks.
A couple of wasn't it 2 red zone picks he threw?
Yeah, I believe so, actually. And they need points, and you got to score points, man. You got to help out your team there, Mettenberger, and he was not doing so against Atlanta.
Yeah, I think if they have Mariota in that one, they might have pulled off that upset victory.
Yeah, at least a healthy Mariota.
Another thing to look at in this game, once again, Devontae Freeman with a big game, 25 carries, 116 yards. Overall, Atlanta is showing they're a team that can overcome adversity, and they end up squeaking a victory out. And they actually scored in the third quarter, but they held on in the fourth.
Yeah, and this Atlanta team under Dan Quinn is performing great. This team is playing in all 3 phases of the football, especially defensively. You got to like what they've done down there in Atlanta, building a good football team. This team is just 3 years removed from that NFC Championship appearance against the Niners.
Yep, just 3 years removed. We should move on to our next game. We have Kansas City pulling off a victory against Pittsburgh, 23-13. Kansas City able to go without Jamal Charles and pull off a victory. Alex Smith with a solid game. He had 21 completions for 251 yards and a touchdown. I do not believe he threw a pick. Landry Jones did not have such a great game. I believe he has 1 touchdown pass, but also 2 interceptions. Lack of offensive production was definitely one of the things that killed Pittsburgh. They got a lot of yards, but they did not put the ball in the end zone, which is the most important thing to do.
Yeah, and Kansas City got a win against a third-string quarterback. Look, Landry Jones played great last week against Arizona, but it doesn't always work out for you in your favor in the NFL. Kansas City did a good job at home. They now have 2 wins on the season. Look, I think Ben Roethlisberger was actually suited up and listed as the second-string quarterback in this game. If you're the Steelers at this point, I wonder if you're regretting not starting him. This game could go down and hurt them. You have such a good team like Cincinnati in your division, and with the wild card the way it's shaping up, it's not certain that the Steelers are gonna, get a wild or get any playoff spot. So, I wonder if you're second guessing yourself by not starting Ben Roethlisberger. I think he will play next week, though, against Cincinnati. I believe they play Cincinnati. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I believe it is Cincinnati. We'll get to that one soon when we go on the rundown for next week. Next game we have Houston and Miami. This was a very ugly game. Houston showing that they're among the worst teams in the NFL, if not the worst team. Their defense is just flat out horrible. Other than J.J. Watt, Brian Cushing's definitely taken a step back at the linebacker position. ever since he tore that ACL. Miami, great performance from Ryan Tannehill. He set a record for most consecutive completions. He had 4 touchdowns in the first half. And give Lamar Miller probably the fantasy performance of this week. 14 carries, 175 yards, and a touchdown, along with a big touchdown catch off a screen. You have anything to add to this game other than the Texans are just horrible?
Well, yeah, I think Ndamukong Suh played a heck of a game. That was the best game that we've seen him play all year. I think he had 2 sacks in that game, so give credit to him. Give credit to that Dolphins front that are finally playing inspired football. As for the Dolphins, yeah, Lamar Miller was running all around this team, but hey, let's give some credit up front. Brandon Albert, specifically left tackle, he had himself a good game. Really, this whole offensive line did against a pretty good defensive line for the Texans. J.J. Watt, Jadeveon Clowney, Vince Wilfork. But, man, that secondary is so bad. And when you have a terrible secondary, there's not a whole lot your defensive line can do. Certainly a defensive line can complement a good secondary or an okay secondary. But when this secondary specifically is, just for a fact, this is probably the worst secondary in the league. I don't know. I would like to see how many points they've given up per game. It's got to be quite a bit.
Oh, it's got to be really high. Got to be really up there. So final on that one is 44-26. Next game we have the New England Patriots squeaking out a victory against the New York Jets. This is a pretty average game. 2 teams going back and forth. New England was able to pull out a little bit of a lead, and then the Jets made a nice comeback in the end there. Driving down, what were they at? Like the New England 30, New England 27 before they had a false start penalty. They had no timeouts left, and the clock just ran out on them.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't a great... Look, this Jets team is good. They're for real. They really did... I think they gave New England the best showing New England has seen all year at this point in the season. This is going to be... They're going to go back and forth all year. When they meet in New York, I think it's going to be a different story. I picked the Jets to win this game. They came close. They were unable to do so. Give a lot of credit, though, to the New England Patriots, specifically, though, Tom Brady. He had a fantastic game. He didn't have great numbers. I mean, nothing really stands out at you. 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Look, they only ran the ball, I think, 7 times. Yeah. They ran the ball 7 times. Or 9 times, excuse me. 9 times. 4 of those were Tom Brady runs. So Tom Brady took that game by control in his own hands and addressed matters by himself.
Yeah, I don't know how he got 15 yards, though. Tom Brady's slow. What did he run? His 40-yard dash was like over 5.
Yeah, like a 5.2 or something like that.
That's horrible. But yeah, he definitely had a good game. Nothing spectacular completion and attempts-wise, 20 incompletions, but that yardage there, 355 yards. Good game management by Brady and the Patriots, and they're just able to squeak out a victory in this one. Moving on for our next game, it is Cleveland and St. Louis. 24-6, St. Louis over Cleveland. A phenomenal performance by the Rams defense. I believe McCown threw a few picks in this one. Nope, no interceptions, just... There was some fumbles, though. So there was 4 lost fumbles on Cleveland.
Yeah, they're not protecting the football. This is the first game all year Cleveland has really been blown out. They were close in a lot of those games. They're able to win a few. But defensively, there's not much you can do when your offense, similar to the Texans kind of, there's not much you can do when that offense is just so bad and you're on the field constantly. And at home, St. Louis was able to capitalize. Running back Todd Gurley had quite the game. I believe Gurley had, 2 touchdowns, 128 yards. He averaged 6.7 yards per carry. Give credit up front to those big guys, though, blocking the way. Cleveland has struggled all year stopping the run, and the Rams took advantage of that.
Yeah, definitely, and give credit to the Rams offense. I believe they only had 1 turnover, 1 lost fumble. And look at Nick Foles, no interceptions this week, and then once again you have a running game like that, you're pretty hard to stop. So Rams get the victory in this one, 24-6. Next